Hey guys, it's Stella and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm an American living in Paris and kind of sharing the ins and outs of life abroad here. So if you're interested in following along, make sure you hit that subscribe button and we can stay connected. Anyways, for today's video, I'm going to be giving you a full rundown on the Lingoda Sprint. So if you're here because you're considering the Lingoda Sprint, or maybe you're in the middle of it right now, I've got you covered. Let's get into it. Okay, first things first, I want to kind of explain what your options are with Lingoda and what I personally did. So I started out with Lingoda just buying individual credits where you get a credit, you take a class, you can schedule them whenever you want, and you can take as many or as little as you choose to. So I did that for the first at least 6 months, I would say. And then I switched to do the Lingoda Sprint, which I just recently finished. So that is when you take, I did 45, but that was kind of a weird situation. So normally you would do 2 months, you would take 30 classes total, so 15 classes per month. And then if you finish it and you do everything, you get 50% of your money back, which is amazing. And then the next option, which I'm kind of thinking about doing next, but it's a bit of a commitment, we'll talk about it, is the Lingoda Super Sprint, and you do 2 months, you do 60 classes, so that's 30 per month. Every single day you take the class, and if you finish it, you get 100% of your money back, which I think is amazing. So I decided to do the Sprint, so that's what we're going to talk about mostly today, but kind of all that I'm going to tell you stands for everything, I guess, if that makes sense. So first off, the teachers that you have, they're all native speakers. So I'm learning French right now, and that's really helpful for me because one, if you just study textbook French, when you get to Paris, you're gonna be like, oh, what's going on? Because everyone's accent just sounds so different. So I love that the teachers have the accent and they can kind of help you with the pronunciation. You can ask as many questions as you want. They're super kind and you get to pick them every single time. So if you really wanted, you could have a different teacher every single time, or if you wanted to kind of stick with a few, which is for the most part what I did, you can also do that. I tended to pick teachers based on what time the classes were. So say it was a Monday and I wanted to take an early morning class, I would see who had a class available and I went for it. I would say this is actually pretty helpful because you get to hear different accents, you get to learn from different people. Obviously everyone's following the same format, but they still have a little bit different teaching methods. So I really like that personally, but you can kind of try it out and see what works best for you. In terms of classmates, this was a part that I actually quite enjoyed, but I guess it's different for everyone. You never have more than 5 people in a class. Sometimes I had 5 people, but for the most part it was 3 or 4, I would say. And sometimes it was just me. I think I probably had I've had at least 5 classes or so when it's just me, which is kind of nice because you get a free private lesson that you didn't plan for. But yeah, I enjoyed kind of getting to know where everyone's from. At the beginning of all of the lessons, you kind of go around and introduce yourself in your language, which is helpful because I remember when I first started, I was super nervous even for that part. But then by now, or even in the first month or so, you get so confident with that, which is the bare minimum, which is great. So I really enjoyed that. I think one of the downfalls is it's really difficult to connect with other people in the Lingoda program, so you can't really contact them outside of class. However, in my first Lingoda class ever, which is what I would really suggest if you feel brave enough, at the end of class, if there was someone that you felt was on a similar kind of learning level as you and that you kind of clicked with, I would suggest just right before class is over, asking if you could switch emails or swap emails and see if they want to study with you later. I did this with a girl from New Zealand, and she was living in Australia. And hi Catherine, if you're watching this. She was super sweet and we studied together for several months as I was preparing to come to Paris, and it was super helpful just to have someone to review the lessons with, practice your pronunciation, and of course everyone learns at a different speed, so you can kind of help and teach each other. So definitely recommend that. One other tip I have is keep your cameras on if you can. So for the first several months, I didn't even know it was an option to show up without your camera on because everyone had it on. So that's what I did for several months, and it was great. I was learning a lot. I was super engaged, and like you can show up not looking great because no one cares and you're never gonna see them again. But just like having it there where like you're not on your phone, you're not eating and, you know, just distracted. But then I would say like maybe a little bit into the sprint one day, I hadn't turned on my camera yet, and then I realized no one else did, or like a few other people didn't, and I was like, wait, like this is an option, which to be fair is actually really nice if like maybe you're a parent or something and you don't want to have it on, or you need to like deal with a child, something like that. I think it's nice that you have the option to turn it off. However, if you can, I would really recommend that you keep it on, because I kind of slipped into keeping my camera off for a few lessons, and I just got distracted. Like you play on your phone, or I don't know, when someone else is answering a question, you get distracted. But I think that's where like some of that really nice learning comes in, is like watching other people's pronunciation mistakes, or like hearing the teacher correct someone say something that you wouldn't catch if you're like on your phone. So definitely keep on your camera if you can help it. To go with that kind of is, I got a notebook that was like specifically for my language learning journey on Lingoda, and I just kept a notebook and I took notes during every class. I took notes on the presentation and stuff, but also just like random pronunciation things, whatever I needed. And it was super helpful because when you're like going back and say you have like a word that you really struggle with, if you wrote out the pronunciation on a page before, you can flip back, and it's just really helpful. So definitely take notes, keep your camera on, try to make friends with your classmates if you can, find some teachers that you like. And then when it comes to like planning your classes, I feel like this is kind of worth noting, especially if you're gonna take on one of the sprints. They're obviously pretty strict with your attendance, because if you do them all, then you get your money back. So I would really encourage you to like plan ahead of time to make sure you get the class times that you want. So I would like look at like a month or two ahead. Sometimes I did like 2 months in advance. But like if you have a good idea of your schedule and you know some blocks that are gonna be open, you can just schedule those in, you have them in your calendar, and then you can plan like your everyday life around them. That way it's like priority, you know, you get them done, nothing's gonna get in the way, and you know, you'll get your money back at the end. So I would encourage you to do that. Yeah, I think that is basically it. If you guys have any questions and you're debating whether to do it, I would say overall it's worth it. Like, I can't even explain, even going from like, I'm so sorry, I was sick last week and now I'm like croaky. But if you go from like doing the regular Lingoda, like buy credits and do classes, that's super helpful. However, like the progress that I made when I switched from doing that to doing a sprint was crazy. Like even some of my friends here who are like a bit ahead of me in the language game, they're like, you've made a lot of progress. I'm like, thank you, it's Lingoda. But genuinely, like when you're doing something every day or every other day, it just, you have to build upon it. And I think that was the biggest thing, is like when I was doing classes scattered, you like maybe forget something from last week and you just move on to the next week. But when it was yesterday and you have to use what you learned yesterday in order to move on to today, like you really have to stay on top of it, you build upon it, it's all fresh in your brain. And I think that's like where I made the most progress, I would say. So it was kind of fun. I like switched from A1 to A2 and I'm continuing to kind of build up. So obviously I'm still very new in my language learning journey. I love Lingoda because you have it in front of you, like you have it written, you have someone speaking it to you, and you're taking notes, or I would encourage you to take notes. And so you have like all of those learning touch points going, and it's just so helpful. Like that is like no doubt where I made my progress. So I'd really encourage you to try it. I'll link the sprint below. I think they have one starting really soon, so make sure like this is the week to sign up. I may be doing it with you, so we'll be in it together. And if you have any questions, again, just let me know. They're offering like a little code that you can get a discount on your deposit, so make sure you get in now. And I'm super excited for you guys. Let me know which language you're gonna choose. They offer English, business English, French, Spanish, and German. I'm doing French. I'm actually kind of interested in like potentially eventually doing Spanish too, because I used to have a better Spanish knowledge. But yeah, you can pick up wherever you guys want. You can start from the beginning, which is what I did with French, or you can jump in at whatever level is right for you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. And until next time,